Okay, great. So thank you very much. So KB, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you? Nice to be
I'm good.
here.
Nice to meet you. Nice to have you here. So today we have a very different kind of topic. Now this is a thing that we do on a monthly basis right now from Accordia. But ever since that one post on LinkedIn about homeschooling, there was quite a bit of interest in that. So what we thought was, KB and I thought that this session we are not going to be talking about homeschooling, but we're going to be talking about elements of school that we could actually elements of homeschooling that we can actually adopt in school in school going kids by parents, right? So I'd like to introduce first our guest today, none other than KV Soon. KV is an entrepreneur. He is also a digital transformation leader. He is responsible for some of the governments in this region, in Southeast Asia, and I believe in Asia as well, on their digital transformation projects. So he is an advisor, a consultant in that area, and he is also a social transformation advocate, and he has been working with many NGOs on that. And one thing I found very interesting when I spoke to KV is that he said, digital transformation or social transformation is not far away. It has to go hand in hand. And I like that because it's not all digital alone. You got to bring the human side of things so that both of this world can really come together and will be of real value to help each other. But more than that, Kiwi is a homeschooling dad himself, So, and in fact, I would like to just tell you how I got to know about KV is that it started our journey of homeschooling our children as well, right? So I'm Jega from Accordia Training and Development, and I'm a consultant and a game designer. And how I started, my wife and I, Vani and I started this journey of homeschooling was we wanted to do homeschooling and we were a bit like, what to do and all. And that was when we got introduced to KV and his wife, Weiling. So I remember that club. I don't know which club was that. There was one swimming club that Sam goes to. Uh, yeah, one of your clubs there. So that's where we had dinner, and then I had this list of questions to ask. But today, what we want to do is we're not going to be talking about homeschooling. I think if anyone is interested about talking about homeschooling, we will actually allocate another forum for that. But what we like to discuss is that there's a lot of tension in parents about schooling from home, and it's been about a year right now. This children learning online. There's been a bit of a battle. What do you do with them? How do you teach them? The online is not working as much as what we expected. So what we like to do today is discuss a little bit about this element of homeschooling that we could bring into this space of for school going kids and what parents can actually do with their children in nurturing the continuous education. So KV, I'd like to just pass the stage to you for a while to just share a little bit about your view about education and what is your thought about this whole
Thank you, Jacob, and also nice to meet with you again. This MCO has been keeping us all away, so it's nice to meet at least on cyberspace. Since your last posting on, since your posting on homeschooling on LinkedIn, I think it's generated a lot of interest, and among the interest was that, hey, how can we? One of the questions was how can we help support each other, the homeschooling and the schooling community, because not everyone enjoy the schooling at home, and I know the teachers work very hard, the parents work and struggle very hard, and it's a constant battle. I go back to my old school. Yes, although I'm homeschooling, I used to go to school at one time, right? And they express their frustration and challenges as well. So I felt there was an interesting platform to see how we can exchange ideas and see how, if it works for us, maybe some of the things that we practice can work for you, in terms of helping you, families, parents, teachers, students, to make the learning from home the schooling at home a little bit more palatable and more engaging for your parents, for everyone. Yeah. So that's how it came about. You know. So yeah, so that's it. And there are a lot of things I want to share. Right. I
Okay.
think
So quick
that's
one.
go ahead. Yeah.
Actually, about tell us a little bit about your family, how many children, and what's their age right now.
Yeah, I think there's a correction I need to correct you, Jiga. I'm not a homeschooling dad anymore. I'm a former homeschooling dad. My kids are my my oldest is 25, just turned 25, and my youngest is 17. Very extremely independent, and kind of know what he wants to do. So I'm kind of taking a back seat. I'm doing my work. I'm into my business and consulting services, and they kind of just dad is there just to support and guide them where they need to. So it's nice to see after so many years to see our kids start to be very mature, independent. I will share a bit more in the Q&A
Right.
later on. Yeah.
Okay, great. So the whole topic of education over here, um, because not many parents are ready to do this homeschooling, and it's a totally different topic, and it takes a different kind of commitment and mindset. But there's some things that we can actually take from what we've been doing. I mean, my oldest is right now 18. Will be sitting for an exam, and my second boy is actually 16, and we have gone through quite a bit of experience of raising kids. And I know among our audience here, we have a diverse group. Some just became mothers or parents, and some have teens, and they're dealing with teens and all that. But this whole thing about learning from home, or the whole concept of education, what is your philosophy? I think there is there like a real a shift that we need to do in terms of the way we look at education and look at kids. What's your thought about that?
So it's a great question. I think there's so many things to talk about this when you ask this question. But I think fundamentally what we believe and what drives us is that we believe that the center of education is the learner, the child itself. The focus needs to be given to the child. Our education system sometimes is a bit just for the sake of managing so many students, many people in the country. I think structure comes into place, standard processes come into play, and one size doesn't fit all in education, because teaching doesn't equal learning, and learning doesn't necessarily come from somebody's teaching, right? So I think that's basic thing, and because every child and every learner is a unique individual, has his own strengths, has his own personality. So the learning is very different. So if you can focus at least some part of the time of the day on the learner, on the child, that he's he becomes, or he or she becomes, the center of the education process. Now that's my biggest that's our biggest philosophy, right? And I think that's something I want to share as we go along. Maybe that will help you balance out some of the tension that happens at home when you do schooling at home, when the kids doesn't want to do homework, just force themselves to go on the Zoom class, and then feel depressed after that, and then after that just go and so a bit there's a lot of disconnection. So I understand some of the problems. I hear a lot of the problems, and I just want to bring attention to that. Let's focus on the learner. Let's focus on the child. Not the exams, not so much the exam, not so much the curriculum finishing, but the person. And that's what education is about: the transformation of a person through
Okay.
the gaining of knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that because that's what you told me about
Yeah.
12 years ago when we met. And
You could have
yeah,
said this.
when we so the whole thing about education or development of a child is what is it that the child is actually interested in. And I think sometimes what's happening is that we go through that mill process. I mean, it's just like even when you go to job also, sometimes we are doing something that you're not really connected, but you still have to go about doing it. But what's happening is it's also starting to fall into the way kids are growing and kids are being developed, that it becomes a mill kind of process. That it's like, you need to do this, you need to study this, you need to know this, you need to do this. But on the other hand, what we are trying to see is that, okay, let's be child-centered. Now, can you just give a little bit, okay, what do you mean by this, like from a practical standpoint? To be child-centered, how would it be like at home? I mean, what would you do to become more child-centered?
I think to be child-centered, first thing you look at is look at the parents, right? Look at us as parents. Look at us parents. Many a time it's our own self, parents' insecurity, parents' lack of knowledge, lack of information. We get a little bit worried and say, "Oh, have you done your work? Have you finished your homework?" Sometimes the border is very, very, very blurred between really concerned for the child, or is it more worried, the parent more worried for the child. So that when that comes in, it kind of uh, it kind of make the place a little bit more cloudy and blur. I think first thing is to allow space for the child to explore things they like, or maybe they may not know what they like, but at that time, but they allow them to explore so they know what they don't like, and they go to try one thing to another. When our kids were growing up, when very young kids, when we allow them to try anything they want to try, of course within moral and safety framework, right? But they wanted to learn this, they learn that. My kids, my oldest is a singer, songwriter, skating instructor today, but they have been swimmers, state swimmers. They have been ballet dancers, as they're still ballet dancers. They have been, many other things. So they try, and that whole experience is about finding themselves. So this is one of the things about being a child-centered approach education is about, right?
Right. I think the whole idea here is about letting go and allowing the exploring of them. You see, what I noticed today is that I think my time or your time, which is just a little bit earlier than me,
Yeah.
we had a little bit of a chance of exploring, but our fathers had a lot more chance to explore, where they were really going out and doing stuff. But as the years go by, we start putting the veil and trying to bring into control, because on the grounds of safety, we do not want them to injure themselves. We do not want them to go in the wrong direction. We try putting a lot of control, and I'm not sure whether that control has actually helped in terms of an entire child development. Because the thing is,
Mm.
what has happened is we have streamlined kids' growth into this is what you need to do, this is what you need to study. The whole concept of common sense, today we are talking about common sense is not so common anymore. And I think when I'm looking at least from the HR perspective of graduates who are coming into a job, there are certain things that we might just get frustrated. We say this is common sense, common sense. They should know it. But how could we blame them for common sense when they were not even exposed to what is common? Because we control and we develop them through a very rigid process. Your thoughts, Kevin, on that?
Yeah, I think. Thank you. I think these are very interesting questions, and I want to bring the focus back a little bit also to parents whose kids are still in school. It is not that school is bad. I think, first of all, before I answer this, I think some parents come to say, "Oh, this is so ideal situation. I can't do it." I think I'm going to challenge you to ask you, can you find spaces in your child's and your life that you can do this kind of exploration, beyond the school time and the school environment, so that the child have an opportunity to explore. Okay, so to answer your question, um, first of all, let's look at, you're right, with the parents, our grandparents or our parents, we had different kind of freedom. But I'm not advocating that we all go into longkang and go and catch fish, you know. Okay, so I'm not advocating you go and climb tree to go and take the egg of the or climb the tree, go and take the what you call it mango lah. I used to go and steal mangoes.
Which your son and my
Yeah,
son did. Yeah, remember when they used to have the weekly gathering, the tree behind your house.
yeah.
Uh,
We they like to climb trees, so we encourage them to do it lah.
yeah,
Okay, we also teach them how to be safe, right? And that's
that's
you
right.
know we tell them, hey, this is what you do, you know, and then after they fall down and scratch a bit, then learning process lah, right? Okay, so that's the first thing. Our environment today is a bit different. So sometimes we need to understand that it's not climbing up the tree so much, although I encourage it, but they may be spending more time on the internet, exploring things, you know. So different generation have different type of exploration. Okay, so they are more cyberspace than we were when we were kids. So let's allow for that. Let's not be very too fixated. Oh, back in my days, you're going to climb tree and go longkang. So today, please go longkang. So no. That's the time. So first thing. So by doing this freedom, by allowing this space to explore, naturally a few things happen. First thing is the curiosity to learn. All right. So you'll find out why. Why is it like this? You know, you start climbing a tree, you know, and you get stuck. Why does the tree go this way? It's so difficult for me to climb, you know. So questions come up. One of the biggest challenges of education system today is that the very fixed and defined curriculum uh, does not strongly encourage this ability of learning to learn. And this learning to learn builds the ability for the child to be what is called self-directed in their learning. Self-directed meaning self-directed means in our term today is don't expect to be spoon-fed, right? So if you want to learn by yourself, you want to know things yourself, you start to question, you start to pick things up on their own. This is where a child develops a very powerful faculty, which is the ability to learn. You know, not just to be taught. So ability to be taught and the ability to learn is very different. So in between uh, the online I keep confusing online school to the home process, you have more time with the child. It's a good opportunity to find spaces where the child could learn to learn. You know, and the best way to learn is to explore. And to explore is to ask questions. If they don't ask questions enough, encourage. Hey, what do you think? Is it this way? Are you sure? You know, what if this happens? You know, this is the kind of curiosity that makes that expands the mind. So when that happens, gradually things will fall into place, like common sense, for example. Because we are so guided in the conventional way of learning, we are so guided by the fact that this is the process of learning, and this is the information you need to digest to pass the exam by a certain time. So our thinking, you know, the kids tend to be a little bit more fixated or narrow. So if you expand that, you know, that this faculty try to go. So one of the points I would always have to encourage parents, you know, I'm I'm not advocating you homeschool, but allow them this space, you know, to explore. So this is to me, this is the most fundamental. You probably heard this 12 years ago, and you're probably living this now. And I think each one of us needs to do this. And in education, I mean, if you decide to and get to university, that is requested of you. That is the way of learning for you. It's not spoon feed and you get to university anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's some of the interesting things that I think maybe hopefully can help you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the exploring thing, uh, one of the things I believe is that not to put rules as to what they need to explore. I think the only rule is that if what they want to explore is actually safe. So I remember once son Harish, he wanted to do parkour, and he saw these videos and he wanted to do it. So what we did was, okay, if you want to do that, then let's just put you through a proper instructor and go and explore and learn it. And he went for the trial class. I don't know why he didn't like the instructor, or he didn't like the place or something, and he didn't pick it up. But the thing is this, you know, at least it was his decision to go try, I don't like it, and I stop, rather than us telling whether that should be done or should not be done. So currently he's into movies, and his desire is actually to be a movie director. He wants to make movies. And my wife and I thought about it. You know what? That's their journey. If they want to be a movie director, let them do it. If they want to be a model, let them do it. If they want to be an actor, actress, a musician, or whatever it is, let them just go and do it. But I think the thing starts from us allowing them to explore and observing. So can you just help here? Now, those parents here who conceptually understand, okay, explore, what can I do? They come back from school, what is that that I can do practically so that we will understand what do you mean by this explore or allow the child to explore? As a parent, what can I do?
I think first of all, as a parent, homeschooling kids, first of all, is that I think we can reduce the pressure. I mean, reduce the pressure on the need to complete, studies, uh, get the 10 A's and all that. No, I may get shot for saying this, but it let them work hard, let them work smart, okay, but let them allow them the chance to be the top student if they can, if they want to, but also allow them the chance to learn. So reduce the pressure on them. If you're sending them to like 5 tuition classes, maybe bring it down to 2, bring it down to 1. Is there a need? Okay. And this, if you think that it's still necessary to have additional supporting classes like tuition, then discuss with your child or understand where the weaknesses are, and then work at that point. So you have what you have is time. Okay, once you adjust that, then you have more time to explore things. There is so much activities out there, and from ice skating to archery to horse riding. My niece is I don't know how she gets in this group. She can archer and arch and shoot the arrow while running or something like that. So I don't know. So she's not homeschooling. She's school, right? There's a lot of space, right? And that's the first thing. Don't be too overly worried about this, and allow things to happen. Secondly, is that sometimes the child comes and say, I like to try this. If it's within your means and able to, let them try. Let me give you an example. My oldest daughter, when she was very young, she always wanted to do ice skating, and I always say no. Until very much later age, teenager, then when she was free to travel on her own, that's when she picked up ice skating. Then I realized that she was really interested in it. I was stopping it. Why was I stopping it? Because when I was young, I went ice skating. I broke my arm.
Okay.
You see, right? So that was my fear. That held her back. So then I said, okay, I need to let go of my fear and and take care. If anything happens, well, we deal with it. Let's learn to deal with it. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, parents, let's look at ourselves and organize our timing in the house and allow this space for the children to explore. Right. So I think this is the best thing I can say now. I'm still
Yeah.
thinking what else
I
can come
believe
in.
that, why? Because I think that one of the challenge I'm finding is that there isn't time for us to really interact. One thing that we advocate to parents and all is that we tell them to at least have one meal together as a family, and start this when they are still young, because once you start it young, it can become a culture in the family to
Mm.
eat at the same table, or what, you may not have the luxury of doing it every day or what, but you, in a week at least a couple of times, have meals together, and that's where we actually becomes a discussion thing. Now I'm fortunate that I have I have a job and a business, but I can afford to have breakfast with the family in the house. Okay, we will actually have breakfast in the house. In a week, I think at least about 4 times I will be having breakfast with them, and our breakfast
Mm.
time is actually a very good time for us to really discuss. That's where the kids ask all kinds of questions. Why something is right, why something is wrong. and we need to create that time, that time to be together. Because one of the thing I really I can't take this, when people say, it's not about quantity time, it's quality time. Come on, I mean, cut the crap. I'm not going to buy that. Time is quantity. Okay, there is no such thing as a quality time, quantity time. Because I remember this when my Darshani was much smaller. She was watching a cartoon. I think, I don't know, Lion King or something like that when she was a kid. She was watching a cartoon, and then I was somewhere else. She called, "Pa, can come and sit here." I said, "Why?" "Now I want to watch a cartoon." "It's okay, you watch. I will do something." See, our mindset is that, you're watching a cartoon, so why should I be there? My productive time, I can put my attention to something else, and that's therefore once you finish the movie, we'll talk about it, we'll do a debrief about it, and therefore we have quality time. But the kids' understanding of time is, no, I just want you to sit there, watch it with me. That's all.
Mm.
No, I don't care how many times you watch the movie. They just wanted that bit, And I think sometimes we're just not spending that time to listen to them. And if day in day out they are having tuition classes, come back after
Mm.
school is tuition, and the only time is actually the commute time from tuition and all. I think what we should be having is, uh, that there is no sin if nights, uh, they don't really actually have a class, and we can actually sit down, have dinner, and talk for about 2 hours about something. And I think
Yeah.
that is something that we need to really encourage, of having a lot more communication in the house.
Mm.
And if that means you may have to make some career adjustment, and if that's necessary, we will do that career adjustment for that.
Yeah. I think it's a very interesting point you brought up, and it's very, very, very correct. So let me introduce you to another term. I think the battle of quality time and quantity time. This is something that I'm also, as a dad, as a husband, sometimes I've been advised by our other halves, we are not engaging enough, you know. So I think it's about um, the quality. What is in the quality of the of the relationship is the engagement. Are you engaged? Are you are you there? Are you there? Are you here but not here? That engagement time is very key. And our families and really and our children have a way of telling us. I mean, not in so many words. We need to pick it up. And I think, as a family unit, homeschoolers or non-homeschoolers, but if you have time, if you're able to find out and able to engage, I think that's very important. Okay, because you know sometimes when we talk education, we are very fixated to the fact that it's about academics, it's about results, it's about learning, it's about knowledge. But the other half of our being is about emotions. It's about the heart. It's about feeling. It's about that. So we need to have we need to also consciously find opportunity or find spaces to address that at the same time. So so this is called balanced education. You are education your heart, education your head and heart, right? So yeah. So and the other point I want to bring out is very interesting. It's about uh, when we talk about head and heart, and what's around it, right? Um, this is something that we seriously need to think about. You know, it is our value system as a family, as a family unit. What are your values, and how do you articulate those values, right? And how do you live that? How does that value get rubbed off, to your children? And that is something that we need to think very carefully. It's not the homeschooling thing, but I think it's everyone. Because sometimes we are too busy, we're not able to focus and think about that, right? So some reflection time to think about is also good. So I think the question is what is important to us as a person, as a family, beyond all the material things, beyond bigger house, bigger car, buying new computer for you, beyond all that value system. Right? So something to think about, right? So when you are learning from home, you have a little bit more freedom because you're not in the classroom, you're not in the school. Your learning is at that time you go for Zoom class and the homework time you need to do. So what else is around? So that's, to me, that's an opportunity for parents, for educators, to re-engage ourselves, re-engage our students and our children. So this is something that I hope you can pick it up as well. Yeah.
No, there's one value that I saw in when you talk about communication. Parents will say, what do I communicate? So this is one interesting question. What do I talk to my kids about? These are something. Notice that when their kids are small, we have a lot of stuff to talk to them about. Actually, it's not that you have a lot of stuff to talk to them about. They have a lot of stuff to talk to you about. So you're just engaging. But there will come a point after one age where they go like mm, uh, yeah. Have you eaten? No. The one liner, one syllable sound that comes out of them. And at the age will come. And this is where I found uh, it's okay to be open and to share with your children about things that you are also going through. For example, this is some things that I used to do with my children is that I used to discuss with them about some of the contracts and tenders that we are involved in. Some things that happen in the classroom, participants said this, or something's happening in the business, some challenges. I used to talk to them about it. And sometimes you might think, they are kids. What's the point of them knowing and all that? But you'll be surprised just sharing what's happening in your office. Now, be careful about what you share. You do not want to go and tell them, so and so is not hardworking or something like that. Then, if you have some Chinese New Year gathering, your kid, depend lah, 7-year-old or what, go to that one. Auntie, I heard my father say you're not working very hard, and that's it, gone. You are in trouble. So, but I think you talk about for example, somebody is supposed to deliver, supplier is supposed to deliver, they are not delivering on time, and that has caused some challenges and all that. I feel it's okay to talk to them about it to make them understand why is that important. When you make a promise, you must deliver, so that it becomes a part of a conversation at home, that ethics, integrity, keeping to your promises, delivering on what you promised, all this slowly goes into their subconscious about what is expected in a business world, in a real world, what is expected. And I think it's okay to actually talk to them about it. I mean, you got to be careful what you say. I mean, if you are working as the head of investigation at Securities Commission, you may not want to share that next week you're going to do a raid in one of the GLCs. But the thing is,
That's true.
but other things about common things about empathy, what even to share a mistake that you possibly did. I assumed something and it was not what it is, and I felt bad that I actually made that mistake. And I think to be vulnerable and to tell them about it, that makes them feel like they can still come and talk to us about stuff after a certain age, rather than seeing us as the people who are trying to portray that we are perfect, but deep down we ourselves know that we are not perfect.
Yes, that's true. I think my own experience is this. Okay, this is one of the perks of homeschooling, right? I used to take my kids when they were very young to my office. I even get them into my business meetings. They're like 6, 7. Okay, so would they learn? I don't know. Then you know, what came out of it, I don't know, but I think they have some understanding. It goes into their knowledge bank somewhere, and they understand. And now they themselves go to work. They have their meetings with their friends, with their colleagues, and I think this will resonate. It will come back, right? And of course, not to mention when I go into a meeting with a young kid, it's very disarming. If it's a tense meeting, everyone become very friendly. So also very good. So there was one meeting that everybody wants to talk to my daughter, my second one, Sam, and whatever difficult meeting was going to be, it became very nice and easy. We connect because we are parents. Sometimes we are the supplier, we are the vendor, we are the customer. The tension happens, but the child reminds us that we are humans and we are parents. So the negotiation or discussion takes the next level, right? And I think that's kind of the home environment we can build, a very disarming, positive environment at the home. So, take the opportunity. I know you guys are going back to school, what will happen to all your learning in online learning, I don't know. But if you're not going to school yet, you're still spending time at home, don't tear your hair out, because you're struggling. Take this as an opportunity to build better engagement and allow different opportunities to arise with your children.
Yeah, I guess the world is getting very complex. Uh, I think this evening we were talking about it in jobs that was never in existence about 6 or 7 years, or at least was not in a very big way, like data scientist. It's already becoming big in demand, and we do not know what the future is going to be like. 3 years from now, there are jobs going to be created that we do not know it exists, and so let alone 5, 10, or 15 years from now. So one of the thing I guess parents need to do is actually to do this thing what you call as create a certain paradigm among the children, or a certain uh, ability to become future ready. So when we say about future ready, is like no matter what happens in the future, no matter how the economy turns or technology flips or all that, they are empowered enough to look at it and figure out and do things where they are not streamlined and or asking us what we need to. Honestly, I don't know. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if they come and ask me what am I going to do, I don't know. You need to tell me what you'd like to do or what you want to do. So I think that becoming future ready is one of the biggest challenge that thing. What do you think parents can do on a normal day basis that would, in a small way, actually help children to become future ready? Is that something that you have done or you've seen other parents do it?
I you articulate this very well. In fact, this is the biggest challenge of being a parent. How do you prepare your children for the future that you can't even predict? That's the role of it. That's the number one challenge for a parent. To me, it's the ability, like what you said just now, it's the ability to adapt, right? So, the experience which my children had in learning one thing to another, they say, I want this, I want to learn this, then later they found out this is not they want. They try something else, they see something interesting, from violin to guitar to piano, ice skating to swimming pool, and maths and science, we spent time at the zoo because they loved animals. So we went to the back of the zoo. Then we realized the zoo have this very interesting education program, which is absolutely free. you know, yeah. And the only people who are benefiting is, I'm telling you a secret now, the people who are benefiting from this were the ISKL, who's always go there for free, and it's our own zoo, Malaysia, right? So they have a curriculum, they have a workbook, they take you to the zoo, take you to the vet, they take you to the back, you know how the zoo works. So the kids say, hey, that's very interested. Let's go try this one. Or sometimes the parents say, are you interested? You want to learn? So that whole process of change, one thing another, and being able to adapt to change is the number one ability, survival toolkit, the first one. Okay, able to change and available to adapt to change, right? If you study, okay, if you believe theory of evolution, they'll tell you the fittest and the strongest survive. Actually, that's not true. Okay, those who are adaptable and willing to change or able to change are the ones that survive. Change is the only constant which is important. So that's number one. So, and come back to my earlier part is earlier thing I said is, how do you do that? You give the child the ability to learn on their own, being self-directed in their learning, in their education, being able to acquire knowledge. And where does that come from? Exploration, asking questions. There's a game that I used to play with my kids when they were very, very young. It's called why game. Right? Right. If somebody says a statement, you ask why. And then the answer the other way. The water flowing very fast. Why? So you just go, it goes to crazy ideas, because the giant forgot to turn off the tap, but it doesn't matter, right? It gets the mind to think, and I love this game very much. So sit down, have conversation, tickle the the the, the mind to ask questions. Don't be dumbed down. One of the problems of our children today is that there are two words lah, that kills a child: duduk diam.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to work hard to kind of reverse that. At least in the home environment, allow them to don't have to duduk diam lah. And parents, it's okay. It's okay. Right? If they run around the house, make the house is safe, it's okay. So I think these are basic, very simple examples, that I think you can try. Yeah. Then the child will grow and learn on their own. Right? This COVID has been very challenging for many of us. And we're also very fair, our children, they have income, and the income was really impacted very, very badly. In this as they come out in their life, they are starting their careers, and their interests. Suddenly, boom, what do you do? I was amazed. They explore their own, go here, there, online, meet people, join this group, join that group, and then they realized something came out, and there was one or two opportunities that came out. And fortunately, got them some more than pocket money, right? So I think that's it. That's it. We have to instill that into the kids, and it all starts with inside learning, understand questions, exploring to learn.
Yeah, because it reminds me of like toys. If you have kids, they are small, don't get them toys that are fixed. Get them toys that they can explore. So fixed toy is like there's only a single use for that toy. A toys that can explore is something you can assemble and all. I think they get a lot of value from there. And here's another thing I realized on parenthood. This is something that my daughter actually taught me. When she was small, we bought her a xylophone. So what happened was, xylophone. That one is the cheaper one lah. So the each one is not locked; it's just slotted in, so you can pull it out easily. So we taught her how to play, and what she did was she pulled it out all, and she just threw it up in the air, and when it fell down, it had its own music.
Music.
Yeah, so my mother, being the grandmother, said, no, no, this is not how you play with it, and she put it back, and this is how you play with it. And she pulled it out, and then just did it her way. And I find that sometimes that happens even in our culture. I mean, I am guilty of doing that. Like when they open up toys, they take the screwdriver and they open up a remote control car to see inside. Now you can be rest assured the moment a kid opens up a remote control car, it's gone. It's not going to work anymore. But that is their toy. The moment we have already given the toy to them, there is already a separation between you and the toy. You and your wealth is separated because that's what you call as a gift. So it is their prerogative how they want to play with their toy. If they break it, open it, explore it, and at the end of the day, they don't get anything out of it. But at least, by opening it, they saw how a motor is. Oh, so this is what we call a motor. Okay, fine. That is the exploration. And we can't have rules on that thing. Otherwise, we're going to be stifling their growth in so many ways.
Some kids don't like to open toys. They like to do different things. They like to observe. I saw we used to have one kid who comes to our group, group learning at one time. They just like to go to the garden and look at the grass and the garden and observe. And he can tell you everything in the garden. Right? So this is where, as I started just now, it's about every child learns differently, and sometimes you need to give them the space to engage in their own style of learning. There's a saying, it is not whether your child is a genius or not. It is how your child is a genius. You have to look for it. Right? And there's a book. I totally can't remember those early days. We talk about homeschooling a lot. We share these books. It's called. It talks about how your child is a genius. I think you can go Google up. There are quite a number of things. And there are different types of intelligences, right? Some people learn from words, reading, some by watching, right? Some by using their hands. They like to touch things and play. That's they learn, right? Some learn well in the morning, some learn well at night, and some learn. There are different ways of learning. So there's not one set way of learning. So I think allow them to explore what's their learning style, and then as a parent, observe and maybe understand their learning style. So if they have a particular style they are forced to learn in school, allow them to learn their own style in their own time. So balance it, so that then they feel that it's not so pressured on the child. So one of the big things that worry me today is how children are pressured, and just to make sure you pass your exams and all that. Again, please, I'm not saying exam is bad, but I think there needs to be a balance in this whole thing, right?
Right. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is, I know we are supposed to go into Q&A earlier.
Long.
The conversation just got engrossed and all that. So I would like to open up for Q&A. If you have any questions, feel free to just unmute and ask the question, and we'll be more than happy to see how we could explore and answer. We may not have the right answer, but we can always explore. Okay. If there's any question, just unmute and you can feel free to ask. For those of you on Facebook, please feel free. If you have any question, just type it on the chat. We have one question here from Isaac. I said, I'm hearing you both, and I am wondering, how does the learning from other people's mistake apply to children? One reason parents worry is because of their mistakes. So sort of like they do not want the children to make the same mistake. Does this statement is still relevant? Your thought, Kevin?
It's a very interesting thing. This is something that also resonates with me. I try very hard to teach my children that there are certain things you would do, it will create certain problems, and that I tell them this is my mistakes. From a theory standpoint, whatever mistakes I made, this is theory. I don't want my children to repeat the same mistake, and let them make their own mistakes so they can grow, right? In theory, okay. But really, you can only share as much as they are able to internalize the learning. If it is a theory to them, is that your dad did this, and this is what happened to me. They may remember it, they may not remember it, or they remember it at the right time not to make that mistake, or they may not. We don't know. Is to see whether they can internalize it. But our job, as it were, is to tell them, to share with them in a very positive way. Say, these are challenges, and this is what happened to me. Don't do this. Right? If you, or another way of saying is, if you do this, this will happen, and as a result, your dad has gone through some challenges. Right? So they may feel it, but don't be afraid to share it. Like what Jacob, what you said just now. Don't be afraid to explore and share all these things with our children, and then allow them to make the mistakes and be there when they actually make their mistakes, to support them so that they can make the correction.
You're right, because otherwise, what you said is just head knowledge. They're not really got a grip on why you should or should not. Then it becomes a rule set. In our family, don't do this, don't do that. Because today they are asking questions that you just can't get away. Like those days, my dad, if you ask him any question, they have this famous Indian way of how do you handle tough questions. That's it. It's actually a long sentence, but they just say the first 10% of each syllable of each word, and you sort of like got the message. Okay, you should not be asking that. And things that we ask, like about religion. And one thing in our kids is that we gave them the flexibility to ask. don't feel bad about asking. Like if they say, why is our God having so many hands? Go ahead, ask it. There's nothing wrong. But I remember when we were kids, when we asked our grandparents any question like that, they have the standard line, God will punish you at night. Something will happen to you at night. But those kinds of things, you should not question this, don't ask this and all. It's not going to work anymore with the world being so open. And I feel by just giving answers like that, I think the best is to say that, you know what, I don't know. Why don't let's both of us go find out? That's a good question, but I don't have an answer. Can we all find out together? I think that would be of more value, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah. So share your learnings and be there to support when they do make their mistakes, and don't penalize. It's all fair. It's a learning. It's a learning. Every step back is a learning opportunity, an opportunity to change.
Okay, any questions from those who are in the Zoom call? We have like about 30 plus people here. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute and ask. Everybody's in a very deep
Hi, Jega.
moment. Yes, Errol.
Hi, KV. Nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I do have one question, and I understand. I hear all the examples when children have their dreams and their aspirations. What would you recommend for kids that does not really know what to look for? They don't not sure what they want to be when they grow up. They kind of in the midst of exploring, or sometimes they're not even willing to explore. What would you recommend to this kind of situation?
Well, how old are the kids you're talking about?
Early teenager, 13, or younger, 10.
Yeah. So there's no hard and fast rule. I think first of all, the principle behind it is really to allow the opportunity to learn, to explore things. And at a certain age, usually when you reach teenagers, where there's a point that they feel a bit disconnected with your teenage children, but they're not disconnected. They are finding themselves. So what I can say is allow them the space to explore, allow them the space not to explore.
Okay.
Give it a lot of time, but spend a lot of time communicating and trying to understand what's happening, and create the opportunity to let them share with you what they like. There is also a possibility that there's something they like, but they dare not tell you, or they don't want you, they feel embarrassed to tell you, or maybe they are still, they what you call that, a little bit influenced by a lot of their friends at the age of teenagers. The friends are doing so many things, and they think they want to be part of it, but they themselves are unsure. So I think if there's opportunity to listen, well, dive in and see what does it. And if you're able to allow them to explore that particular thing, then by all means go ahead. But if you can't, then let's be frank and say it's a bit challenging for whatever reasons. Yeah. If to me, I believe that if the channel of communication is open, the kids will come back to you. Our kids will come back and say, Dad, what do you think of this? Right? And we need to be patient. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I hope it helps. Yeah.
Okay, any other
Yes.
question?
Okay. Hi, okay, Jega and KV. Sorry, I actually have a question. I don't have kids, but I do have nieces and nephews. So I'm very intrigued about this because my sisters are actually considering homeschooling, and especially at this time, it would make a lot of sense. But I always worry about the sociology behind this. Like, what are the effects of it? It's just a stigma in my probably for me or anyone else is that you have that social engagement or that social changes when you are in a normal school, like in our government school. So, what is that adaptation when it comes to homeschooling? Is that something that you worry about as a parent?
Jika, you want to answer that first?
Well, okay. Okay, I'll make it very quick because we wanted to not go into this homeschooling content today, but very quickly, I think the idea of homeschooling is not locking up in the house. The idea of homeschooling is exploring. So when they explore, naturally they will be dealing with age groups which is outside their normal age group, which doesn't really get, you don't get that much chance to do that in school unless you're in secondary school and you join any societies or clubs. Otherwise, you're only seeing your own age group and you deal with your own age group. So the idea of homeschooling is actually to mix with different age group, and they get to work on projects. Sometimes they have like I remember they were doing some baking and selling project. All this small stuff that we used to do, sports day and all this thing. So they get to meet with a lot of other people. They really do get to meet, and the homeschooling group itself is a community. So I'll just keep it short in that. The homeschooling group itself, go and join a homeschooling group, find a community, and they will be learning from one another. That will be their schoolmates and school buddies.
Sorry, I didn't get your name.
Raj. Raj.
Hey, Raj, sorry. Okay, so I didn't see your name coming out. I think, if you meet my kid today, my children today, and you follow my Facebook page, right, and I post about them, you don't know they're homeschooled, and that's not, and that's the point, right? Is that early days of learning process, we are fixated at school, non-school, we make a difference. By the time they reach a certain age, they become adults. You don't realize there's a mark on top, say homeschool child. No, there's no such thing. Right? But when you meet them and you talk to them, you might find them very different in their own ways, right? So I think that's what I'm trying to say is it's the end game. Let's look at what we want to aim for. Let's look at, what we are aiming for is really our child, as Jeka has put it very, very nicely, our child being, future ready, right? Future proof, some some people might say, right? Okay, and that's really it, because we all, if you read Khalil Gibran, right? Khalil Gibran is a Khalil Gibran. He has a poem called Children, and he starts off the first line is that our children are not our children. They pass through us to become their own adults in themselves. So we give them an opportunity to hopefully flourish, positively in life, and that's it. At the end of the day, all the worry about passing the exam, stress and all that, they are there. We look back and say, why did I stress out so much those days, right? So let's look at the long term. Let's look at the future, and that's what we are planning for. We're planning for a future we cannot predict, so that we want them to be future ready.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That clears up, because the idea behind homeschooling, for me, has always been, okay, you are at home studying, that's all. But there was no such thing where the thought of community is there. There is a community, there is engagement.
Yeah.
So hearing this, thank you.
There's life. There's life beyond learning.
Thanks, Raj, for the question.
Thanks, Raj.
I like that, KV, what you said about Khalil Gibran's poem, because if you look at biology, the only reason our children needs us is because they are unable to fend for themselves during birth. If you look at a turtle knows how to fend for itself from the point it hatches. So that's why the mother leaves and goes away. The human body doesn't have that ability. The human body actually have that ability. If we can grow out of trees and we can just walk out of cocoons, I think the parents would not even be necessary. So I think the purpose of parents is actually to prepare them for the future. And the biggest thing is actually to also uh, slowly open up the gates or expand the gates. And one day you got to just, you're going to have to remove the gate. And the day when you remove the gate, you have to just trust that you've done everything necessary.
Yeah.
And after this is their responsibility, and not having to worry about them. You know, they are 35 years old and you're still worried about them. You know, I think we need to take our journey as well as for our own purpose on why we are here as well.
You know, I think thanks, Jacob. I think this is a very, very critical point, you know. But there's also the other part of life, you know. I mean, the fact that we can sit down here and I can talk to you about our our children's learning experience, and to share that with you, and you know, for you to be able to, you know, maybe take part of it, maybe not, you know, it's up to you. But the ability to be here and to do that, it's it's um it's special, right? It's special, which is why one of the big part of our education process is also be acutely aware that there are those who don't have this opportunity, you know. And uh, we need to be aware and instill the the belief or the value that we need to help each other, you know. And in this pandemic situation, we know very well, you know, a lot of students don't get a chance to learn the entire year of learning, you know, right? No matter how challenging school or online learning at home is, they don't have the chance. A family of 7 people in one apartment of flat of 2 rooms, sharing, you know, 2 mobile phones for learning, if they have mobile phone, you know, right? And this is stark reality, and we have to, you know, talk to our children and make them aware that, you know, we need to build societies to be inclusive. We cannot, they say, oh, this is them, they're hiding there, we're here. I think it affects us all in the long run. And this is society we live in. And this is the human part of this whole education. In the future, when they grow up, the world is theirs. When we as parents are no longer around, you know, they need to hold this value and understand this. So I just wanted to say this out, you know, that we need to think of the others as well. And this is itself a education process, a learning process.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, KV. I think it's been a good hour of talking about something which is very different. I mean, we usually talk about transformation, what are the commitment, organization, and stuff. And today we have a bit different, more. I mean, it's something which is relevant. It's all of us have that. We all have puzzling questions about developing kids, and I think the thing is there is no way we are going to be fully prepared. You're going to be making mistakes, and we're going to be learning from it. So the time now is about 9:07, and it's about 7 minutes above our scheduled time. Sorry about that, guys, but thank you so much, KV, for this. Thank you, Raj, for putting things together for today. And it's been great. And I would like to thank everyone here in the Zoom call who made it today. I hope what we discussed here was beneficial, useful, or what if there's something that if you all have any other questions about it, feel free to drop us an email. You can send it personally to me, jega@accordia.com.my. Raj, could you help us out with that? Just put that in. So drop me an email about what are some of the questions. And if there is anyone here or there are anyone here who are looking at homeschooling and you want to actually explore homeschooling, drop me an email as well that you are looking at homeschooling, and at least we could have another session, a private session where for those who are interested to explore homeschooling and you want to do it but you just don't know how to do it, we don't mind sharing with you what we have done and what are the spectrum of homeschooling that is actually available out there. For me personally, was a big fear to do homeschooling because it was out of the norm. what would others say. That is the biggest thing. And I had challenges with my mom and my mother-in-law who was against it. So we managed it. We managed it, and today they are already grown up, and they are looking forward to explore the world in their own way. So thank you very much, guys. We hope to see you again. Next month we'll come up with another topic. And once again, KV, all the best for your digital transformation efforts and social transformation. I wish you the best. And hopefully the leaders of the nations that you are advising will take a more integrated approach in all this.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share with you, and I wish you all the best. Thank you for being here. All the best, and have a interesting journey with your children. It's always been interesting. Make it more interesting. So feel free to connect. I think Jega has tagged me somewhere along the line, but I think you can, if you contact Jega, he will just gladly share my contacts with you, my address.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Why don't you just give us your? Do you want them to email you directly or anything, or what?
Yeah. Can you type?
Yeah, I can just type your email there as well.
Yes, I'm on Facebook as who is.
Oh yeah. There.
Yeah.
Soon kv@underwear.asia.
Yeah, who this is my. Who is KV? This is my Facebook handler.
Okay. I can follow KV on his Facebook as well, which is at who is KV. That's an interesting one. All right. So thank you very much, guys.
Okay.
So we'll see you soon. Let me just end the Facebook Live first. Have fun.